Hello. All right, the second video, we're going to still deal with volumes of spheres. However, we're going to try to find some other unknown values, for example, the radius. So in example 2 on your paper says the volume of this sphere is 904.778 centimeters cubed. What is the length of the radius? So we're going to try to find the radius, the R value, and they're giving us the volume, right? So first thing I like to do, first and foremost, draw yourself a picture. Right, we got a sphere. Now let's take a circle for now. Let's add some dimension to it. We draw a circle, and then draw yourself a little oval. And I often like to dot the backside there, but it doesn't really matter. That kind of gives you a little 3D. Also, we want to deal with a radius. That's our R value. That's what we're trying to solve for. We don't know what that is. What do we know? Well, we know the volume is 904.778 cubic centimeters or centimeters cubed. That's what they give us. That's the information we know. We want to use that to solve for R. So first thing I want to do then, well, let's plug this in. Let's substitute that value in for volume. If volume is that 904.778, let's put that in. Let's erase and replace that. V with 904.778. And then of course, the right-hand side of our formula or equation is unchanged. But now we look at that there, we know that pi is a number, we know that 4/3 is a number, 904.778 is a number. The only unknown is that R. We only have one variable, which we know we can solve for a variable. We'll just use our inverse operations. So I want to isolate this R cubed, then to isolate that R. So I got to get rid of that 4/3 and I got to get rid of that pi. So I'm going to deal with that 4/3 and say, well, if I'm multiplying by a 4/3, the inverse operation is divide, so I'm going to divide each side by 4/3. Now, I know that looks scary. Don't freak out yet, because if you think back to what you might have been told of a keep change flip, a copy change flip, what you're talking about is dividing by a fraction. And when you divide by a fraction, you just multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm going to keep this number. I'm going to change the operation from division to multiplication, and I'm going to take the reciprocal of 4/3, which is 3/4. I'm just flipping that fraction right on its head, right? 3/4 is a reciprocal of 4/3 and vice versa. Now over here, that cancels out. That's why we did that, right? We're trying to isolate the pi and the R cubed. So what we have left over here is that pi and R cubed. Now we're going to continue to simplify. We're going to say 904.778 times a 3/4. That gives us 678.5835. 678.5835 pi R cubed. All right, we're still not there yet. We're still trying to solve for R, trying to isolate that R. So I got to somehow get rid of this pi. Now again, this is pi times R. So using our inverse operations, we'll divide each side by pi. I'll divide this side by pi. Right, get your calculator out. And again, if you have a pi button on your calculator, use that. If you don't have a pi button, just use 3.14. Right, so I'm going to say 678.5835 divided by pi. Now I have a pi button, so I am going to use that. And I get 215.9998367. That rounds up to 216. So let's take our work over here. I have 216 equals R cubed, and that's an equals. And I'm going to rewrite things so it looks a little neater, a little more of what we're used to, right? Just going to rewrite the equation. There's nothing wrong with that. I can rewrite it like that all day. Now, again, we're going to use our inverse operations to try to get R all by itself. Now, when I'm trying to get R all by itself, I got to get rid of that cube. So just like we're going to undo a squaring with a square root, we'll undo this cubing with a cube root. Now again, what I do to one side, I always have to do the other side. So the cube root of R cubed, well, the cube root and the cube cancel each other out. That leaves us with just the R. And the cube root of 216 is 6. Now, if you don't know how to do the cube root, if your calculator doesn't let you, usually you turn your phone on its side and it'll give you more options on your calculator. If not, there's websites, there's apps you can get. See a teacher about recommendations if you don't know where to go for that. But we're not quite done yet because we want R is 6. That's our radius is 6. But again, what are we dealing with? Popsicles, right? We have 6, what, hot dogs? No, we have centimeters cubed for a volume, so therefore our radius is 6 centimeters.